It's late summer in the Alps. The giant mineral monument of Mont Blanc has soared into the sky for millions of years. It stops clouds in their paths and shapes climates, subjecting living organisms to extreme conditions. Violent winds, sheer rock faces, polar temperatures, and raging avalanches. Yet some plants and animals have succeeded in adapting to this harsh environment. They've developed strategies that enable them to survive from one season to the next. From the high-altitude forests to the perpetual snow line, the Alps reveal one of Europe's distinctive ecosystems. The marmots are keeping a sharp lookout. For marmots, survival chiefly means eluding their main predator, the golden eagle. These striking birds are the lords of the Alps. They have hooded brows that protect their eyes from the sun like a visor, powerful talons that are deadly weapons, and a hooked beak that is ideal for tearing the flesh of their victims. Despite this high-tech equipment, the golden eagle does not always succeed in catching its prey. This time it's been spotted. To save its strength, it abandons the hunt. Like all the world's mountains, the Alps are divided into tiers. At their base are green valleys overlooked by forests. Above these are alpine pastures, which in turn give way to the perpetual snows of the peaks. The marmots inhabit the alpine pastures 2,000 to 3,000 meters above sea level. You could say they live the high life. They certainly are making hay while the sun shines, tucking into alpine flora to build up their fat layers for the winter. Winter is not far off now. The marmots will soon be going into hibernation. They're gathering dried grasses to line their burrow. The entire marmot family help make a cozy nest in the hibernation chamber. Marmots sniff each other when they meet. It's not kissing, more of a way of checking who's who. The young snuggle up to the adults for warmth. High above the valley, the Mont Blanc massif impedes the cloud's progress, creating very wet areas on one side of it and very dry areas on the other. Several different types of extreme climate exist side by side in mountain areas. The summers are short here. The first snowflakes start to fall as early as October. They're already beginning to transform the landscape and influence animals' behavior. Wreathed in mist, the chamois are gathering. For them, autumn means the rutting season. The males wear a dorsal crest and penile brush for the occasion. From one slope to another, they call the females. This male chamois is feeling irritable. He can't stand other males being anywhere near him and goes to great lengths to chase them away. Chamois are sure-footed, with flexible hooves that enable them to perform all manner of acrobatics. As soon as he's seen off his rivals, the male stops being aggressive. Meanwhile, the marmots are taking things easy. The family are settling down for a long hibernation. It's their chief strategy for surviving the harsh winter. Their breathing and heartbeat slow down, and their body temperature gradually drops by over 30 degrees Celsius. They will sleep for 6 months now. Marmots are very deep sleepers. The outside temperature is falling too. It's already -6 Celsius on the rocky slopes of the mountains. Alpine ibexes inhabit the higher slopes, where the rock faces are dizzyingly sheer. At 100 kilograms, they weigh twice as much as chamois. They are superb climbers, moving calmly about on the sheer surfaces. They too have flexible hooves, which grip the rock like non-slip soles. They can keep their footing on even the narrowest ledges. Male ibexes have more impressive horns than females, in some cases up to 1 meter long. The horns are used both as weapons and to impress females during courtship. Male and female ibexes live apart, but they come together for the mating season, which lasts from late November to January. Male ibexes fight for supremacy and the right to breed. Their jousts are spectacular but rarely dangerous. The aim is to defeat the adversary, not to kill him. And ibexes have hard heads. The victor earns the right to mate. Female ibexes are only in heat for 24 hours. The male has to be quick, but not too quick. The male ibex has to be patient. The female will often make him wait until nightfall. As for the younger males, they will have to wait till next year, unless they can seize their chance when the leader's back is turned. In the forest belt, about 2,000 meters above sea level, the fox emerges from his den. He's hungry, but he doesn't stand much chance of catching anything in the thick snow. Prey is scarce, though perhaps not quite as scarce as it seems. The mountain hare is almost invisible against the snow. Its brown summer coat has turned snow white, providing it with a perfect camouflage against predators. But it must keep totally still and resist the temptation to flee. Phew, the danger is past, and all thanks to a fluffy white coat. A bit further on, a curious-looking bird uses the same technique. Its snowy white winter plumage acts as camouflage. winter rules supreme in the mountains. Snow-laden winds blast the rocks and whistle between mountain crests and through narrow outlets. It's hard to believe anything can live this high up. A relic from thousands of years ago, the Alpine glacier flows so slowly the eye cannot detect any movement. It has all the time in the world. The Alps seem unchanging, eternal and gigantic, yet they are gradually rising up and slowly being worn away, so slowly that their inhabitants do not notice it. Conditions here are harsh, even for an expert mountaineer. The Ibex scrapes the snow for a bite to eat. Plodding through the thick mantle of snow is tiring for such a heavy, short-legged animal. The only grazing left is a few shreds of dried grass, moss, lichen, and the occasional rosehip. On the steepest slopes, the layer of snow can be a danger in itself. A whole section of the mountainside can be engulfed in a few seconds. The age-old Alps look stolidly on, impervious to the vagaries of the snow. What do they care about the small tragedies that are played out at their feet? With a wingspan of nearly 3 meters, the lammergeiger is the largest European bird of prey. The corpse of an animal caught up in the avalanche is a welcome find. But bones are the lammergeiger's main source of nourishment, so it lets the crows clean the corpse first. The mountains kill, and they are equally merciless to survivors. The shortage of food has driven some ibexes to move down the slopes to the forest belt. An old male ibex has taken refuge in a hamlet that is out of reach of avalanches and has been deserted by its human inhabitants for the duration of the winter. The forest provides birds with a useful food supply. Here, Alpine accenters, siskins, and blackbirds feed on rowan berries. Higher up in the Alpine pastures, the first sunshine of the spring begins to thaw the snow. After more than 6 months, winter is finally ending. In the Marmot's secret hideaway, the change of season has not gone unnoticed. A mysterious inner clock is waking up the marmots, one by one. The males are the first to put their noses outside. Stiff-legged as astronauts emerging from a space capsule, they very gradually begin to move around. They have lost half their body weight and look like deflated balloons. Time for some exercise. And time to think of courting. Summer will be all too short, so the mating season starts right away. As with the chamois and the ibexes, quarrelsome mates vie for the role of leader. The dipper is the only bird able to harvest the rich aquatic life of high altitudes. It hunts insects in the water. Dippers are well equipped for their chosen sport with a dry suit of waterproof plumage. As well as diving, they can swim. Another of their hunting methods is to walk along the bed of the rushing torrent, even if it means going against the current. The mountains certainly have produced some top-level athletes, whether they go in for rock climbing or water sports. In early spring, the black grouse puts on a show. Here in the Alps, black grouse inhabit forest margins. At the height of the mating season, as well as having splendid breeding plumage, they produce a wide range of sounds. tirelessly gobbling, hissing, sneezing, and blowing. The male black grouse's flamboyant display is more of a beauty contest than a battle. A non-violent way of discouraging potential rivals and establishing dominance. The golden eagle also engages in a courtship display. The male pretends to swoop on the female, who tries to catch hold of him with her talons, sometimes even turning upside down in mid-flight. This high wire act is a serious matter. Golden eagles mate for life. At the level where the alpine pastures grow, a curious life form has appeared on the surface of the snow. Red snow algae develop in the spring as a result of the increased sunlight. This bizarre organism, also known as watermelon snow, specializes in extreme conditions. Its pigmentation protects it from ultraviolet rays. 0 degrees is its ideal temperature. For snow algae, anything above 4 degrees Celsius is a killer heat wave. Amid the snow crystals, an entire microcosm is coming alive. Glacier fleas eat algae, pollen, and plant debris. They're not really fleas, but springtails 3 millimeters long. They are extraordinarily resistant to the cold, but avoid heat. They die if the temperature gets above 15 degrees Celsius. More than any other flower, the Alpine snowbell symbolizes spring in the Alps. It's developed a unique system whereby its dark color enables it to absorb solar heat, which it then radiates to melt the surrounding snow. As the snow melts, it yields up the evidence of deaths that took place some time ago. These insects were killed by the first cold snap at the end of last summer and have stayed deep frozen all winter. The thaw has brought them back to the surface like miniature prehistoric mammoths. Other bugs, very much alive, are already coming out. Flies buzz the same way the world over, from scorching deserts to snow-capped mountains. Several species of fly are totally at home in the snows of the Alps. They clean up the high-altitude landscape by eating whatever they can find there. Little by little, the white recedes. The alpine pastures resurface, and the vegetation starts to grow. Spring has triumphed. Billions of drops of water join the mountain streams. They become swift, raging torrents, then waterfalls that hurl themselves from the rocks whenever they can find their way through. The crocuses bloom before the grass has time to succeed the snow in the alpine pastures, and before other plants arrive to compete with them. Some early spring flowers, like the pasque flower, have fur to keep the chill out. While the flowers are growing fur to keep warm, the ibexes are losing theirs. But you can't just slip out of your winter fur. It takes some time to shed, and in the meantime, it itches. As the snow melts, the hungry ibexes graze further and further up the slopes, gradually moving into their summer quarters. At last, they can start building up their strength again. They gorge on the alpine flowers and grasses, heedless of all possible ill effects. The pied wagtail is an opportunist. It's not the grass it's interested in, but the insects disturbed by the ibex's hooves. Like the ibexes, the wagtail is busily taking in calories. Bellies full, the ibexes sunbathe contentedly. They are so relaxed that they nod off. Although the gentle Alpine ibex is one of Europe's most iconic mountain species, it was hunted to such an extent that for a long time it was extinct in many parts of the Alps. Now it's back, thanks to reintroduction programs. Human beings were responsible for its decline. Now, they've helped it return. On the mountaintops, the snow is receded to its summer bastions, laying bare the inhospitable-looking mineral structure of the mountains. Yet, there are pioneers tough enough to conquer even this seemingly barren landscape. Like intrepid mountaineers, lichens set up camp where no other organism can survive. They are capable of fastening onto smooth bare rock and holding on despite violent winds, long periods of intense cold, and strong sunlight. Lichens color the mountain even at altitudes of over 4,000 meters. They are the last signs of life at the highest altitudes. It's high summer. One level down, the Alpine pastures are bursting with life. Mountain flora perform impressive feats. To withstand powerful winds, they are low-growing and deep-rooted. They do not waste energy on growing long stems, but form long-branching underground root systems. By day, they tolerate light that is twice as bright as at sea level. To survive ultraviolet rays, they are coated in a thick skin that acts as a sunscreen. Saturated with sunlight, they are more strongly scented and brightly colored than their lowland counterparts. They are irresistible to pollen-gathering insects, which sometimes travel a very long way to pollinate them. At 2,000 meters above sea level, plants have only 2 months in which to flower. Butterwort grows in poor soil, so it supplements its diet by catching insects. The sticky leaves work like a flypaper. Once the insects are trapped, the plant can digest them at leisure. At high altitude, the winds are too strong for most insects to fly. In many cases, their wings have atrophied. They use their legs to get from place to place, or get a lift on their partner's back. Summer is short, so everything has to go fast. Mating calls, courtship displays, and coupling. The club-legged grasshopper gets its name from its weirdly inflated front legs. It charms females with its powerful voice. In the middle of its courtship display, it looks as if it's showing off its false biceps to the females. Back to the marmots. The blind, hairless young are born in the summer burrow. They stay there for 3 months, doing nothing but suckling one of their mother's 10 teats. On average, marmots have litters of 2 to 4. Once the young marmots start going out, their mother will start weaning them. For the young marmots, this is a carefree time of plenty. In the summer, marmots sleep all night and take a nap in the middle of each day. They love their sleep. But if you want to elude predators, it's better to stay awake. From the air, the golden eagle can spot a marmot a kilometer away. The eagle soars down silently, shaving the rocks and watching the marmot's every movement. Its technique is to remain hidden until the last moment. The golden eagle instinctively spreads its wing to hide its prey from thieves. The eaglet is almost grown up already. It's practicing for its first flight. Its parents have stopped feeding it. Now, it has to learn to survive the harsh conditions in the mountains on its own. Chamois have adapted so well to the glacial high-altitude climate that they prefer the sections of the mountains that are still snow-covered to the pastures. The young were born in the spring and have grown considerably. They suckle their mother several times a day, and there's no nonsense about being gentle. In summer, the animals change their camouflage. The ptarmigan exchanges its white winter plumage for stippled feathers that make it look like a block of granite. The Alpine ptarmigan lives in the rocky areas high up on the mountainside, always above the forest belt. There are few hiding places on this barren terrain, so camouflage is the best way to escape predators' notice. In summer, sheep are brought from the valleys to graze the alpine pastures. They are carefully guarded by a Pyrenean mountain dog. These dogs do not herd the sheep. They are brought up with them and think of themselves as one of them. Their job is to protect the flock. They always position themselves at vantage points to keep a lookout in all directions. If a wolf were to come near the herd, the Pyrenean mountain dog would get between it and the flock. Under the dog's protection, the sheep can safely graze. The inhabitants of this lake, 2,200 meters above sea level, have speeded up life cycles on account of the short summers. The apparent tranquility is an illusion. Midges are gathering for a frenzied courtship flight. A dragonfly larva has come out of the water to metamorphose. All that's left of it is an empty shell. Its metamorphosis complete, another dragonfly dries its wings before taking off for its maiden flight. Others have been adults for longer and are now mating and laying their eggs around the lake. A female plunges her abdomen into the water to deposit her eggs on plants methodically, one by one. Let's go for it. A passing male decides to mate with her whether she likes it or not. He clasps her neck with pincers especially designed for mating and unceremoniously carries her off. When an ibex feels its life lacks spice, it goes off to find salt on a vertical rock face. Salt is vital for digestion and breathing. It helps the animal retain water. From the height of its 4,810 meters, Mont Blanc straddles Europe like a colossus. Seemingly immobile, life has developed even in the harsh conditions of the high Alps. From the Alpine snowbell to the Ibex, the species that live here have become amazingly tough. But the glaciers are melting, and the perpetual snow line is receding. The animals that have adapted to these supremely inhospitable conditions are facing new challenges. If we wish to preserve this jewel in the European crown, it's up to us human beings to help them adapt to the changing conditions.